Good day. Hope you're having a good day, and today the lesson is on the overview, which I will tell you a little bit about me and how my philosophy of education changed over the years. So let me start with my name, Larry L. Gilbert. Education and experience. I have a Bachelor of Science in Education from the University of Great Falls, which is in Montana. And I have teaching experience at the elementary, junior high, and high school level. Next, I got a Master of Education in Administration from the University of Alberta in Alberta, Canada. And I have experience in administration I was a principal and a director of an elementary junior high school, a couple of them. The next degree I have was a Doctor of Education in the Philosophy of Education from the University of Montana in Missoula, Montana. And my experience after I received that degree was teaching university classes in philosophy of education, psychology of education, sociology of education, and an advanced philosophy of education. Because these classes were taught to students who were training to be teachers. They would be teachers at different levels. Okay. The next thing that maybe you want to know is, now, how has my philosophy of education changed over the years from the time I taught to now? Because I've kind of kept up on it. Well, when I was teaching at the university, there were different philosophies of education, and they were promoted in books by authors who were quite well-known authors in that area. And they don't necessarily be in this order, but I put them that way. Perennialism, it was called. And they got in, now we go across this way. Perennialism got into ontology, what is being. They got into epistemology, what is knowledge. And they got into axiology, which is what are values. And then the thing that they transferred or used, they used this base to go into the nature of the student. So we considered that, and the role of the teacher and what the curricula were. Now, I would present that course, that philosophy of education to the students, and it would take, 1/5 of the time of a semester. And then during that same semester, when I finished this one, I would offer them, here's essentialism. Not from my point of view, but from the point of view of those philosophers who were saying, hey, this is what we call essentialism. And they went through the same 6, but they had a couple others, but these were the basic ones. Then I presented existentialism. And we went through the same things. And what we were doing is, okay, student, you pick out the one you want, or you can pick out a couple, because you got to have some kind of a framework and a basic philosophy from which you're working on in order to get over here and justify these things. Then the next one then was progressivism. And it was a kind of a reaction to these two, because perennialism said, okay, there are certain values that go on forever. Essentialism said there's first a certain basic information and knowledge that you should have. Existentialism said, well, it's up to the student. I'm kind of giving you an overview, but I don't want to get into that in detail because we're taking a different approach here. But they said it's up to the individual, and he has to decide what he wants, and freedom is the main thing. Well, okay, and a reaction to these two was progressivism. And to that too, because these went a little bit divergent from what these people say. Well, we got to be more progressive. We do have to take a look at this and this and this, but we're not going to just accept them wholeheartedly. So that was progressivism, and I went through each one of those things with the students. Now most of these students were in the fourth year of getting a degree in education. Some of them were becoming elementary teachers, some were going to become high school teachers, and then they might go on and become administrators or university teachers. Right, the last one was Reconstructionism. It said, kind of like this, but it said, hey, we got to get this, we got to reconstruct this thing. You can't just talk about it. So they tried to pin down some of the main things here. All right, since then, my thinking has become, as I look at ontology, I say, you know, we have human beings. As a teacher, I can teach you. There's an animal. I have to train the animal. There are angels that if somebody said, we'll pay you to teach my angel. Now, you say, well, you sound crazy, but there are people out there, a lot of people who believe in angels. So who am I to say, oh, no, they don't exist? So I'm allowing them to exist, and you just tell me what, I have to find out something about them so I can teach them. And also gods. There are gods out there. I've never been hired to teach a god, but I don't quite know how I'd go about it. But anyway, so what I look at here, and I say, okay, this is what I call present view. Now I want to look at the child. What's the nature of the child? Or the student, I guess. So I go over here and I'm going to cross over here. I'm going to take a look at perennialism's idea of a child. All of these, essentialism, existentialism. And I say, now, I'm going to accept all of those. But it will depend on that child, that student. You know, if he's not interested in certain things, then I have to say, well, I'm going to take a different, I'm going to look at your nature, the nature of you, and define it, but I'm going to allow all of these from these philosophies of education. Because they've established it pretty well, but they haven't come up with just one. They've got 5 of them, and if you put a couple of other classifications, they've got 2 of them, or 2 more. But anyway, so what I would say is, all right, I'm going to take a look at, I'm going to go across the board there. And that will be how I will look at the child or the student, whether he's a human being, an animal, a god, or an angel. I have to take a look at that and say, okay, what is the nature out here before I can start teaching them? And I'll do that with each one. Now, this is just a sample of how I'm going to do it. But when in the next lesson, it'll be on ontology, and we'll take a look, more specific look at these ideas of what is a being, and his idea of a being. Then I'll give you my idea of a being, and the different styles of being. Okay, for now, I think that will be sufficient, and next time we'll get into ontology, and I'll cross it like this, and we'll talk more detail about it. Thank you, and have a good day.